Item 9, committee meeting minutes. A, Communities in Bloom meeting from September 22nd, 2015.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Bonnie. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item B, Essex Center BIA meeting from September 8th, 2015.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Bonnie. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item C, Finance Committee meeting from October 7th, 2015. And there are 2 resolutions to be approved as recommended.
Moved by Councillor Bonnie, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 10, Financial. A, 2015 Capital Report at September 30th, 2015.
Councillor Caxero moves, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Questions? All in favor? Support? All in favor? Motion carried. Oh, question, Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, I know Jeff sent through also the bank statements for 2 months. Are we going to do that at the end, or no? We're not going to receive those? Okay.
Next meeting. Item 11, new business. A, Greater Essex County District School Board's decision to close Harrow District High School.
Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, I'd like to seek council support tonight to send, and I did send out, or Bill Parr sent to all of council, and then I sent out to administrative staff his presentation. They've made a few adjustments. They wanted to make sure the numbers were all right from that presentation. So I'd like to have that presentation along with penned letter from administration. In my view, the ministries that I'd like to see involved are Ministry of Education, for obvious reasons, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and Ministry of Ag and Rural Affairs. If there are any others that maybe I'm overlooking, then by all means, our CEO actually mentioned that maybe we could send it or copy all ministries. Some of them may not have an interest in the item, but certainly those, for the obvious reasons. Minister of Municipal Affairs and the Minister of Ag and Rural Affairs, I believe, should have a vested interest in a small rural community such as Harrow. Minister of Health, I believe, should have a lot of interest in the fact that that decision is going to put probably in excess of 80 kids that were biking and walking to school on a bus every day. And we're looking at promoting active living. We have a CWATS plan where our county has said they're going to invest up to $70 million over the course of 25 years, and municipalities are going to contribute into that also. And we're doing this for what if we're closing rural schools such as Harrow? So luckily enough, by a stroke of chance, the mayor and I had the opportunity to speak to the premier on Friday before she left town for about 5 minutes. She certainly encouraged us to do that, exactly what I just explained. And she had her critic or advisor on education with her on Friday, and in front of us instructed her to set up a meeting for Karen Petrie to come down and meet with us. She did mention in talking to us briefly, or asked us, had the board seeked any coterminous agreements with the separate board? No, that's the answer. So there's a lot of things I think that our board, in our best interest, has not looked at and not done us justice for that school. By no means do I think that it's done and over with. I believe we need to explore the proper channels to make sure we bring light to the fact that there's a disconnect not only between the Ministry of Education and the school boards, a disconnect amongst ministries. The left arm doesn't know what the right arm is doing, and we've felt the repercussions of that in our municipality. So I believe it's our job now to move forward and do this, and I think this is the first step. I think we bring that presentation and that pen letter. Councillor Bondi had a good suggestion also. I believe the park recommendations should also go. Probably the board or the, not the superintendent, the director, the director's recommendations, that should go also as part of that package. Our CEO had a good recommendation, potentially maybe a few letters from the student body at Harrow High. So I don't know if Lauren, you could maybe help us out in that regard. And these packages be sent up to the Premier and the various ministries and get this ball rolling to have this looked at.
Thank you, Bill. I have Mr. Phillips and then Councillor Snively.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. I support Councillor Caxero's motion. I just wanted to add to the reason, the rationale I gave for some of the other ministries was much in Mr. Parr, and I see Mr. Parr's come to the room this evening, much in the report that was presented last Tuesday at to the school board meeting. There are aspects of finance, there's aspects of environment in there, and I think of the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. When I think of the amount of bus traffic that we're going to have going pounding down county roads, there's an impact on infrastructure, there's an impact on healthy living. There is a Ministry of Healthy Living and Promotion of Sport. That's outside of health. And I think that all of those aspects, when we start looking at what the Premier talked about a year ago, or 2 years ago, no, fall of last year, excuse me, when she spoke about the notion of community hubs being as a part of the mandate letters of so many of the ministries, it touched on a lot of those, and I think this is where you send back that message to each of those ministries. I raised the point with the student body, and I would encourage Carly and Lauren and others to participate in that. I received, after speaking last Tuesday evening, I received a number of letters from students of your body, of the school, and thanking me for taking the time, but making comment on what is this council, what is this community doing? And I think that's an opportunity for them to take up the charge as well. Council is working hard on this. There's another meeting I know tomorrow evening to talk about this matter, and the more we can do on it, the stronger the message we send to Queen's Park, and perhaps stronger message we send across the province. So I'd encourage anybody that has a willingness to pen something, get it on to us, and we package it up as a bundle.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Snively.
Through you, Your Worship, this question is to Bill. I know you talked to Catherine Wynne, and there's a recommendation that Karen Petrie is going to come down here. Did she assure us that, or she said she was going to talk to her, or did she assure that Karen Petrie was going to come down here? If not, I was going to make a recommendation tonight, okay, to council, but I'm going to wait to see what kind of response we do get from Karen Petrie, because they're not looking at our community, they're not looking at small areas, small towns, and the impact on our community would be devastating. So like I say, I'm going to hold back my recommendation tonight, but Bill, I'm asking you, what assurance did we get from Catherine Wynne to bring Karen Petrie down here? Thank you.
Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, devastating is a good word. On the radio today I use detrimental. Yes, you're right, absolutely correct. She did not suggest that she would try or ask Karen. She told her education advisor that was with her to set up a meeting for Karen to come down and speak to us. That to me was fairly clear. Certainly you can ask the mayor for what his take on it was. He was there. But from my perspective, and I was standing about 1.5 feet in front of her when she told that advisor or aide to do that, it was pretty clear. It was not a suggestion or maybe we'll try to. It was set up a meeting for Karen to come down and meet with the town.
Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, I would like to direct administration tomorrow to try to contact Karen Petrie to come down here. Let's not wait, days to do it. Let's try to be in contact tomorrow, and let's try to get this moving forward, because the longer we wait, the worse it gets. So I would recommend that administration try to contact her office tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vokes.
We certainly appreciate all the efforts, but the truth is that if the province gets involved, if one of those cabinets show up and talk to us about, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, just discuss it with the board. That's what they're going to say. They're going to ask us what discussions took place with the board. And that's where the crime comes in at, when it comes to the board. When I look around this room, everybody here, fire, infrastructure, treasurer, council, CAO, mayor, and the roles we have and the responsibilities we have to our community, to make sure it's invested in, to make sure it's stable, and to make sure that all the provisions for our people are in place. And what does the board do to us? And what do we let them do? They stick it to us. And that's right, I said they stick it to us, because they gave us no opportunity. Somebody show me, there was one small formal meeting with them where we talked about the hub, right? And and by the way, the meeting was set up when the vast majority of the people were at work on this council. They couldn't do it at night. They did it in the afternoon. And it's my position, council, I want to say, and I'm looking for support, that the board meets with us specifically, and we talk to them. Russ had it nailed down in terms of the hub and what we could do. We need to talk to them about that. We need to talk to them about the 50% reduction on DC charges. We need to talk to them what it means to our community. You know how it happens? It happens at a microphone with hundreds of people in the room, and it sounds something like this. That's what it sounds like, and nobody hears it. But in the back room, it won't sound like that. It'll sound very clear that what you're doing is criminal. And I'm saying criminal, and some will say, boy, folks, that's a little heavy. Well, it's not heavy, because what it's going to do is, you talked about it, Russ talked about it, the board, in terms of health, it's going to take young people and it's going to stress them out, and it's going to make them sick when they're being loaded up onto buses and hauled to other communities. We know what bullying does in school, and now the new kids show up. They're the new kids from the outside trying to find their place in a school. And this board gave us no opportunity to have the candid discussions with them about that. We did everything at arm's length. Everything. And now we got people sending us emails going, what the hell did you do for us? Want to know what we done? Nothing. Nothing. We went to a microphone at the events, if you will. And we did have our speakers. But we did nothing in terms of responsible negotiating as a council. We work with millions and millions and millions of dollars in budget year. We put infrastructure together. We put Parks and Rec together. But they don't give us the time of day to have those discussions with them. And I say shame on them. And I'm asking council that we get them to the table before they make that decision in a nice, quiet environment. I don't want a big entourage of people disrupting things. I want to sit in the back room with them, with leaders like Russ and leaders like Donna that can talk dollars and cents, and leaders like us, and put it on the table, what it means to us, and then do something. At the end of it, if that fails, then we've done our homework. We can say to people, we met with just them, and we put it on the table to them. But we haven't done that. We have had no formal meeting with the board and this council, our administration, their administration, sitting at the table and negotiating. They just slammed the door in our face. That's all they did. And we're sitting here talking about getting the province, and I got all, guess what? I got all the respect in the world for that. But they haven't done nothing for us, because all the province is going to do is go, did you have those discussions with the board? That's what they're going to do. We need to have those discussions. It's horrible. It's horrible. And that's got to happen ASAP, because I think we're very limited on our time now. They never give us the time of day.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Snively.
Yeah, very quickly, Your Worship. The thing that really bothers me about the process is this. First of all, the vote was very close. It was 5-4. The thing that really bothers me the worst about the whole process was I can remember the last time they come in the Herald to attack our schools, and we agreed to close the junior school. And the board then said they would not come back again for at least 5 years to review us. And here they are 3 years later. That really concerns me, and that's where it should be brought up at the board. What are you doing back after 3 years when you assured us you wouldn't touch a school in Herald again? Thank you. I want to go on record with that.
Councillor Vokes.
I'm going to put a motion for it.
Okay. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. It's not taking offense to the notion that Councillor Vokes makes, but I do want to make sure that we are understanding that there were meetings held between members of council and with the trustees. I don't recall the exact date, but there was meetings, and Councillor Vokes is correct in terms of the time. The time of that meeting was during the afternoon, but it was intentional in that we had an opportunity to meet with Aaron Kelly, with Todd Allwinder, with trustees Gretzky, trustee Burgess, pardon me, sorry, MPP Gretzky, Lisa Gretzky, and MPP Taras Nadashak. We had meetings with them. We've also had an opportunity to have a small delegation, albeit the mayor, deputy mayor, Councillor Caxero, and Councillor, who else was there? I guess it was me. It was the CAO that attended the AMO session in Niagara Falls. We had an opportunity to meet with the Education Minister, Liz Sandels, and Karen Petrie was in the room that day. I will recall that meeting and say publicly I was very disappointed in the response that we had from the minister. I was very upset by the response we had from the minister, and very upset by the response we got from Karen Petrie. I've shared that with a few members in the community. I've not lost hope on the aspect, and I'll continue to work with the. As I said, I saw Bill Parr out here earlier. I'll continue to work where I can in terms of our energies in putting letters forward and that. But any of the discussions we've had with the senior government, this is a policy issue. This is one of the education ministry, and when I made the pitch at them the other night, I was reminded by Trustee Burgess that their mandate is not about infrastructure. Their mandate is not about finances. Their mandate is to the care and welfare of the student, of the youth. That's their mandate. They're not really interested in hearing about where that school is. They're interested in the care and welfare of the youth. And those were the things that they were very clearly put back to me. And what I said was wrong the other night, and I'll say it's wrong again, is that they do not include municipal leaders, such as yourselves, at the table during the conversation when they're making these decisions that will impact the social and economic vitality of your community. They do not bring you to the table. They exclude you from that process. They invite people through the park process, but when they have an elected official, and we learned that through this process, that every time you folks had something to say, you got one opportunity, 5 minutes, that was it. And we had that conversation with the minister, and they're not about to change it. That's what I heard. I don't know if those that were there with me that day when we made the presentation, the response we got back from Minister Sandels was one of, we hear your problem, but it's going to continue to be your problem. And their model, as I see it, is fractured. It needs to be fixed. It needs some repairs. But I'm not certain that by us continuing to harp away, I'll gladly write your letters and we'll send them off. But I'm not certain that we're going to get the attention of the government on this one. I respect what Councillor Vokes is indicating in terms of if you want to have that conversation again with the trustees. We never did get that opportunity, but their process is one that doesn't provide for that. They've been very clear in instructing us on that. You have your processes, they have theirs. They're not really, they don't marry up well. Thank you.
Mr. Snively?
Through you, Your Worship, I just want to say one last thing here. Julie Burgess, she's devastated by the outcome of this, and I just want to assure her on my behalf, I'm not blaming her for what happened. I got that yesterday when I went to church. My minister come up and talked to me, and he said, Julie is devastated, but I want Julie to know that we know she worked hard for us, so just if she's listening or if she watches this council meeting, I want to assure her that it's not her fault. Thank you.
Councillor Bjorken?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to also just go on record as saying this council did a lot. This council did a lot of work, and maybe we didn't get that meeting we wanted with the whole board, but we're never going to get that meeting with the whole board. But what we did do is we showed up at every single meeting. We showed up at every school board meeting. We showed up at every open house, and somebody on this council spoke at every single one of those. And we made it very clear what was happening with our town and how this was going to affect our town and affect our students. At the end of the day, it's all about our students. It's all about our kids. Yeah, we want our towns to grow. We want our towns to succeed. But we got to do the best things for our kids. And I just want to state that 4 people voted not to close. And that wasn't happening when this thing started. When this park started, we did not have 4 allies on that board. So somebody changed their mind for some reason, and a big part of that reason was the work that this council and the entire community, but I want to just state that this council showed up for everything, and we did a lot of work to make that difference in the call. And we're not done yet. I'm not done. I agree. I'll be at that meeting tomorrow night. We're going to continue on. But there was certainly not a lack of effort on behalf of this body.
Councillor Bundy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm certainly willing to support the initiatives by my fellow councillors, by Councillor Vokes and Councillor Caxero tonight to see, what else? Let's hand out one more olive branch. Let's say, ministers, come really see what you're doing to our community. But at the end of the day, I really think that council needs to have a discussion about getting a legal opinion on this case. I don't know, other towns have done it, and I'm not opposed to looking into it, because then at least we know. And I don't know what that legal angle is, and I don't even know if we should be talking about it, but out in the open. But, there are broken promises that have been made, a lot of broken promises. The way the park was structured this time was, kind of backdoor, and the communications and the fact that we weren't listened to at all. I don't know, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if there's a legal angle, but I for my peace of mind at the end of the day, I think council should, not tonight, but should have a discussion about maybe perhaps getting a legal opinion. Is this a legal case? If we're talking about the care and welfare of students, if we pull Harrow High School out of the southern end of our municipality, we have students on buses, we have obesity rates, we have, I think it'll affect the local library stats. We have the spiral effect. We could very well lose our Harrow Daycare. Harrow Daycare is a licensed daycare that provides subsidies to low-income families. Now we're talking about, safe daycare access for low-income families in the southern half of our municipality. So there could be nothing better than a care and welfare of our students looking at this high school. So I certainly support everything that we've done, and our council has done a lot. We just haven't been listened to. We haven't been listened to. We haven't been given the time of day by the school board. And Julia Burgess has been fantastic. Councillor Snively, you hit the head on right there. She's been amazing. She has been a strong advocate, and I know she's at a moral crossroads right now, talking about resigning, and we need her there. We need more people like her there. I don't want her to resign. I hope she stays, because if we have any chance, I believe we need her there. So the fight isn't over. And now we have the verdict, but I don't think that the fight is over. Now, we just might have to get a little creative and crafty, and maybe it's like a big game of chess here, and we certainly, I believe, all of my council colleagues, I believe I can speak for you on this one, that we do want education in Harrow, and we are passionate about this issue, and we will keep working on this issue. And I want to thank Bill Parr and the members of the Park Committee that have stayed along, even though the Park Committee has dissolved, and have been working, I know, some nights till 12 o'clock at night, brainstorming and coming up with these ahas. And only if we could get them to listen, if only, find a way. And we believe we've found a couple of different ways that are very logical and very practical. And we have long-term solutions if we could get them to listen. It's just getting them to listen. And I know as a council member, sometimes I'm stubborn on an issue too. And I'm like, no, I'm voting this way, I'm voting this way, I'm voting this way. And then once in a while, you'll have a little aha. And you're like, man, I didn't see that. So, 4 out of 5, it is pretty damn close. And I think, I don't know how it works. If we can reverse the decision, I don't know it. But I'm not giving up.
Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, that was the recommendation, Councillor Bondi, I was going to bring forward, look into it legally, but I want to see if Karen Petrie is going to come down here, and I would recommend, let's wait to see the response we get from her first, okay, before we go that route. That's a recommendation I was going to bring forward. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Malash, Councillor Caxero.
Through you, Your Worship. I too believe that we should be speaking with Karen Petrie. She's somebody who has some influence with various ministers. People know her. The Premier knows, all the ministers know that Premier Wynne handpicked Karen Petrie for this committee, and that they all believe she has some influence with the Premier. So I would say if we can have an audience with Karen Petrie on our own, perhaps Doug Raycroft would come down as well. He's on the committee. Doug is the I think he's the president of the move against closing of schools in small communities. There's a organization just for that, and he is, yes, small rural schools. And Doug is also on that hub committee along with Karen Petrie. I also do believe that Councillor Bondi has hit it on the head too with the idea of getting a legal opinion. I think we need to do that as well. And like Councillor Snively was saying, maybe we should wait to see where the Karen Petrie thing's going to go first, and then perhaps reach out and see if we can, if there's some kind of legal action that we can take to try and get this reversed. Thanks.
Councillor Caxero.
Your Worship, so I'll move that the presentation that Bill forwarded to us, and certainly he showed up today. I don't think that of the three that weren't there on Tuesday night, certainly if you wanted to, Bill was more than willing to go through the presentation. Takes about 10 minutes. But certainly I told him that wasn't necessary. I thought that everybody could kind of take a look at it on their own if they so wished. But I would like to see that, along with the other items that I mentioned, be packaged together as soon as possible, sent off to the Premier, and I'll take the CAO's advice to all ministries. If there's some that get it that don't really have an opinion, great. They'll get it anyway. And certainly, I think contacting the Premier's office to find out the earliest date possible to have Karen come down then. I'll make that a motion.
I'll second.
Moving second. Comments? All in favor? Motion carried. Yeah, I think I'm not going to say beat this to death because I hate that word, but we are definitely not finished. And with regards to, can I finish, sir? Okay. With regards to Billy and I meeting Kathleen Wynne, we have two names here. And first of all, well, an OPP officer came down and asked us, what are your intentions? We're standing there waiting. A whole bunch of people came down, one being the present chair acting chair of the Windsor-Essex Development Commission, said they'll be down shortly. So we waited. This gentleman comes down in a suit. What are you two guys doing here? What are your intentions? So like Bill said, chair, council member, Mayor Ron McDermott, listen to us. Oh, maybe I can help you out. I'll go upstairs and talk. First of all, he went up and talked to Paris Mueller. No, Carly Forrester, executive assistant to the premier. She came down and had to talk close to 15 minutes listening to what Bill had to say with regards to our school in Harrow. I said a couple words. She said, I'll go up and get in the premier's ear. Okay? Thank you very much. She's gone maybe 5 minutes. Down comes the entourage. The lady didn't listen to us, meaning Kathleen Wynne. She was in the conversation. She talked almost as much as Bill and I did. She was part of that conversation. She heard exactly what we said. She knew where we were coming from. She was the one that told this Paris Mueller, senior policy advisor, that you will listen to these people. She recommended that we send a letter to this Paris Mueller requesting whatever we wanted, and she would get Karen Petrie down here. She guaranteed she would come and have a meeting with whoever we wanted. And as Bill and I are coming home from the city, names like Bill Parr, our treasurer, our CAO, council members that wanted to be there, some people from the park committee. Like I made mention of a couple things, just like Randy's saying, they did not listen to us. I told her, you were the one that said, hey, let's get these hubs going. Guess what? They wouldn't listen to us. They wouldn't listen to us because we were part of the old process, last year's scheme of doing things, knowing they're going to close us back then. Now they don't have to deal with us and your Karen Petrie-led group, dealing with hubs. She heard us. She wants us to be heard by these people around here. One more thing I've heard a few times, that Julia Burgess' name come up. She told me, crying at that meeting last Tuesday, she had a presentation to make to the board. They wouldn't let her. They would not listen to a recommendation that she had a presentation to make. Don't think that when we get Karen Petrie down here, they're not going to hear about that too. So, yes, Larry, she guaranteed us that we would have a meeting with her. Councillor Caxero, because I think Councillor Vokes wants to make some kind of motion or something. So.
He was first, go ahead.
Councillor Vokes?
Yeah, I just, again, I want to reiterate what Russ said. Russ had made very clear to us as a council, even though obviously the goal and objectives of sending to the province is a good initiative, it may not be fruitful, right? So I want to go back to meeting with the board. And I know Russ said it really doesn't marry with what we do, but they need to come to the table with us. And we don't need an entourage of political representatives there. I don't need the Gretzkys. I don't need the, in all due respect, the Therese Natashaks. I want this council to specifically sit with them and have some good, candid discussions with them. So I'm going to make that a motion that we direct council to set a meeting up with the board at their earliest convenience. And also in that motion, I would like to afford the opportunity for an in-camera meeting to discuss our legal opportunities as a corporation, recognizing the dismissal of the school.
Motion made by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Caxero. With the comment, sir.
Through your worship, to Councillor Vokes, who are you suggesting from the board? Probably the director, the superintendent, or are you suggesting the trustees?
Exactly. I want to sit at a table with them as long as this and as big as this, where everybody has the opportunity to speak one-on-one with their board and our council, their administration and our administration, to talk about what opportunities could be there before they finally close the door. We need to have those discussions. And I don't want it to be a dog and pony show. I don't. I want it to be just as refined and concentrated about the issues we have as we possibly can. And I know that's going to be hard to avoid. But if we do it in a format where there's control, then we can have those back and forth discussions. And if we have to break for a while and get back to the table again, we need to do that, people.
Thank you, sir. CEO Phillips?
Thank you. Just through you, Your Worship, just wanted clarification from Councillor Vokes. You were asking for all 10 voting members as well as their senior administration. That's your wish.
Absolutely. Anybody who has a role or a say in the closing of that school needs to come before our council, our mayor, and our administration.
Councillor Caxaro?
Through your worship, now, it's going to have to be a public meeting because it's all of council, because I don't think we have the grounds to hold a closed meeting with them unless there is an issue that we can think of that would cause it to be in camera.
Through you, Your Worship, if you attend their meeting, you're a delegation. It's not your meeting. I would think that if you were able to convince them to hear you as a delegation at an upcoming meeting when they're present, where they're conducting their business,
Okay.
as opposed to going it the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Just as the motion that Councillor Vokes made, I would like to make a friendly amendment to it, because I believe, Councillor Vokes, you said as fast as we can have a meeting with those people. I'd much rather have a meeting with Karen Petrie and those people, so we may have some bullets to take to this meeting that you're requesting. So I wouldn't want to meet with the board and the trustees and everything before we meet with, the government officials.
I won't amend that in all due respect to you, because we've had, I know my 12-year tenure on council, I've asked numerous times for minister officials to meet with us. Never had one yet. And now I'm going to wait for one to show up. I won't support that.
Okay, we have requested ministers to come here in the past. I agree 100% with you. We were guaranteed by the Premier that we would have Karen Petrie here. And if you think I'm going to doubt her, no matter what party she belongs, you're not getting my support for this motion. I can't understand why you would turn an opportunity down like this, sir. And to me, that's what you're doing. I can't believe it. But I will be voting against the motion as it stands. And CEO, Mr. Phillips.
If I could, hang on, if I could.
No, I'm not going to argue with sir.
No, I'm not
Mr.
arguing.
Phillips had his hand up.
I'm not arguing.
So I'm
Okay.
going to let him say what he has to say.
Then put me in order to talk.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship. The previous discussion that I've heard of ideas of talking to getting a legal opinion, and I think there's some foundation in that prior to meeting again with the board. I appreciate where you're at right now. There's a bit of debate in terms of what the timing is on these things, but there's information that's come to my attention of late on the I was approached the other night on last Tuesday evening. I was approached by actually a local solicitor that's been working with the community of Amherstburg on this particular matter. And it was intriguing in the short conversation I had with him on it. I think there's some rationale to have further discussions on that, whether with that solicitor or others. The other is an inconsistency on some of the things that occurred the other night at the meeting, at the decision meeting. And I think there's worth exploring that, and with your encouragement, administration will take those. But I think before you meet with anybody further, that you get a legal opinion first, so that you can walk into that meeting room armed. And I think the mayor said it with some bullets, that you've got that up, you've got some background or some at least we iron some things out, whether or not we believe them to be true or not.